Okay, so we are nearing the end, coming towards the end of Shaar Hasimcha, the gate of happiness. So we're up to the paragraph starting Gam Yismach K'Sheyira Simchas HaRishonim. So what we're holding now in the gate is that the Orchos Tzadikim is discussing where we should channel our simcha. Like what should we be happy about? As we mentioned before, it's clear from the whole this whole gate that simcha is a choice a person makes. A person decides what to be happy with. A person decides what to be upset about. It's a decision. It's not against the person's will. So says the Orchos Tzadikim, right? It's quite ironic on the surface that he's saying that you should be happy. We should be happy when we see the simcha of Rishonim. We see Rishonim, evil people, that they're happy. The Tanugi HaPoishim, and those who rebel against the Kadosh Baruch Hu, they are having pleasures. So we see the good things happening to bad people. We should be happy. V'yachshav and think, if I see that this evil person who's fighting against Hashem, look what reward, so to speak, he's getting. Look how much of a good life he's having. So Allah Chazkan V'kama, at least in the world to come, look how great the tzadikim, the people who follow Hashem, the reward they're going to receive. David Melech said about this, a pasuk in Tehillim, Nosata simcha belibi me'ez deganam v'siroshim rabu. That when I see that my enemies, when I see the evil people flourishing, so that puts simcha in my heart. Mashal Zadem Lamelech Shazim and Orchim, the king invites guests. He gives a parable. The king invites guests to his palace for a feast. And when the guests get to the courtyard of the palace, they see that the dogs are eating avazim, they're eating geese and tarnagolim and chicken, having like the best steak, ribeye steak. So when the guests see that the dogs are eating this gourmet food, so then they say, "Im leklavim kach," this is what the dogs are getting. If you see the dogs getting this, imagine we're going to be sitting with the king himself in the inner chamber. Imagine the meal that awaits us. So if we see what Hashem gives the Rishonim, we'll see what that it's a kolshkin what we're going to get. Now this mashal, you can argue it doesn't apply today because I'm sure there are people who give their dogs much better food than they give their guests. But at least back then when people were normal, so that was it was a good mashal. So continues the Orchos Tzadikim. So that's number one. So and again we see very important yesod. We see it's all about perspective, right? So the things that would get a person down. A person thinks to himself, I just became from and I keep Shabbos, I'm losing my job. And this guy's in Russia and he's b'machal Shabbos. Look at all the reward he's getting. Now that's a very difficult sign. I'm not minimizing it. But what the Orchos Tzadikim is saying is that it's all about perspective. If one takes the perspective of this Gemara in the Darim, that a person should say, look at the reward he's getting for what he's doing. So after 120, where it really counts, imagine what I'm going to get. That's what he should say. Now he's in the next paragraph, he's going to point out three things that we should be happy with or not happy with. A tall order, but this is what's expected of us, that our simcha should always be with those things and in a manner that will bring us closer to Avodas Hashem. So there's no such thing as simcha that's detached from Avodas Hashem. Now, the simcha of a friend is getting married, or the simcha of the person, something good, you landed a great job, right? So that simcha is a simcha that brings a person close to Hashem, because now a person has the financial stability, he's happy for his friend, that brings him close to Kadosh Baruch Hu. It doesn't just mean that a person's besimcha when a new Sefer Torah comes to the shul, which is definitely reason to be besimcha. A person can be besimcha about things that are not directly related to the religion, but the goal and the focus should always be that these are things that are going to bring me closer to Hashem. Number two, a very interesting concept, that a person should not be besimcha over something that's good for him, but it's bad for someone else. And listen to his example. He says, So let's say I'm a wheat merchant. I sell grain, I sell wheat. So let's say there's a famine, right? And let's say you sell face masks on Amazon, right? You do it for the past 5 years. Surgical supply of face masks. All of a sudden, now there's a rav, there's a famine, at least for face masks, for this type of stuff, there's a famine. So, now, Baruch, it's helping my business, but there's a pandemic in the world. So therefore, a person shouldn't be besimcha over that. I could be makir tov to Hashem that a good thing has happened. We know that when a person dies, so one is supposed to say, we saw this in the halacha shir last Wednesday. A person says daina emes because the person's father was nifter. Then he makes a bracha of shechianu or hatoiv hametiv because now he has an inheritance. Even though the package is a bad, from our perception, it's a negative package, but I'm supposed to thank Hashem for any good that happens to me. So if the person got a Yerusha, got an inheritance, he thanks Hashem, even though it came through a parent dying. So he doesn't mean here that a person shouldn't thank Hashem that through this pandemic, so I'm making more money, or now there's a famine in the world, so I sell food, so the price of food goes up. That's his example. So now I'm happy that I'm making more money, and I thank Hashem for that. But this simcha, I'm not going to have. There's not going to be a simcha, just like we didn't sing Shira when the Yidden left Mitzrayim, and we went through Kriyas Yamsuf, and the Mitzrayim were drowning. So we didn't sing Shira, the Gemara Megillah says, because Hashem's handiwork is drowning. That's not a time to sing a song, right? So the Yidden were very happy. They were grateful to Hashem they were saved, but if it's at someone else's detriment, if it's to their detriment, so then there's no simcha. There shouldn't be a simcha there. One shouldn't be besimcha or that someone died, his great uncle, even though he gets a Yerusha. Still, it's a bad thing. It shouldn't be besimcha. So if the bottom line, lo yismach b'tekala shum adam. Bishvil hanasa, I should not be happy. I shouldn't have simcha over anyone else's misfortune, even though it gives me a fortune. But if it's his misfortune, so there shouldn't be a simcha there. It's a mefurish mitzvah in Parshas Kedoshim. It says you have to love your friend like yourself. So I shouldn't be. If that was me, I wouldn't be happy. So I shouldn't be happy now. A person should accustom himself to being happy when other people have good things, have a good fortune. You hear that a person became from, person you don't know, you never will know, but you hear that a Yid who was not from now is from, he came back to our mitzvahs, that should cause a simcha. So again, simcha is a choice. The person can choose what to be happy about, what not to be happy about. And the Orchos, Tzadikim is telling us that simcha should be those things that bring me close. It should be a simcha that brings me closer to Hashem, to the service of Hashem. It should not be on anything that benefits me, but it's to someone else's detriment. And the simcha should be when other people, good things happen to other people, that should cause me to be the simcha. Last paragraph. So he should not go too far with his simcha. If we remember, going back to the beginning of this gate, it was the same thing. The Orchos started off by defining simcha, and then he said, but if you're too happy, it can come to kalas roish, it can come to lightheadedness, which is a bad thing. And then he went off on all the detrimental aspects of simcha. Here also, a person should not be nemalis choik piv. He should not fill his mouth with simcha. He achshav arva kol simcha, because now all our simcha, since we're in the diaspora, and the Beis Hamikdash is not with us at this moment, so the simcha is tempered. We can't. If we're truly besimcha, so that shows that we don't really understand what we've lost. So you see examples in the Gemara where certain Tanaim were too much besimcha and bad things happen. Certain Amoraim would not let themselves laugh too much. When is the time for simcha? When is the time to fill one's mouth with simcha? when the Beis Hamikdash is rebuilt in Yerushalayim, shehi simcha gedolah. That is a true simcha, a great simcha. As it says in Shaar Malas that we say before every meal on Shabbos, before benching, then our mouths will be filled with schok, with happiness, and our tongues will sing song to Hashem. Then they'll say Bagoyim and the Goyim, Higdil Hashem la'asos imela. Hashem did great acts with these people, referring to the Jews. So at the end, and that's the end of the Shaar Simcha. So he ends the Shaar Simcha with this idea of not taking it too far. So if we just take a quick bird's eye view of the entire Shaar Simcha. So we'll just read the first half of the first paragraph. After we get to the end, just come back to the beginning and you can appreciate more what he said. He said in the beginning, Hasimcha, Hamida Hazois, Ba'al Adam Machmas Roiv Shalva Beliboy. The midah of simcha comes to a person when there is tranquility in his heart. Lipegara, nothing bad happens to him. Adam Hamasig Tavasoi, a person has reached all his desires. He's achieved every desire he wanted. He has. Lo ye'era, lo ydavar hamatziv v'yisoi. And nothing can happen that will make him sad, make him atzuv. V'zeh yasamech tadir. With that, he'll be always besimcha. Ya'iru, part of his face will shine. And he goes on, to explain. And he gets into the schok aspect. So that is what simcha is. Now, that's virtually impossible for us to achieve. But the point is, simcha comes, and again, we're not going to translate simcha as happiness, although I know we do sometimes, but really simcha is a certain, we'll say, inner contentment. Like a person has an inner peace, a peace of mind, is a tranquility, everything, it's good, everything is fine, Baruch Hashem, there's a positivity to things. And that's when he's telling us that if I have desires, if I make desires for myself that I can't reach, so I'm not going to be besimcha, right? If I allow things to upset me, so I'm not going to be besimcha. So number one, simcha, as we've been saying many times, is a choice a person makes. And number two, it comes from being in a state where number one, I don't set my desires the level too high, because then I'll be disappointed. And nothing can upset me. Now, the bulk of Shaar Simcha was talking about bitachon. It was a very nice review, a lot of the concepts that we saw in the Chayvus Levav Shaar bitachon. Because the way to achieve this is having a constant in your life. To be in a constant state of simcha, a person has to be in a constant state of bitachon. A person has true bitachon, full bitachon, and emunah in Hashem, so then whatever happens is for the best. And he knows that Hashem is taking care of him. I think we saw that one of the mishalim he brings is that you take a bitter medicine. A person, let's say, Chashalom has a death sentence illness. It's mamish lethal. But they come up with a wonder drug that has 100% success rate, but it's extremely bitter. Okay, so it's bitter. So he's not going to say it tastes great, right? But he's going to be besimcha, right? That's not a contradiction. He's not going to be dreading taking the medicine. As he's eating it, this is the worst thing I ever tasted. But Baruch Hashem, I'm so happy that I'm tasting it. I'm so happy to eat it because it's going to save my life. So the real Baal Bitachon, that's how he takes everything. Because he knows whatever is happening, it's the bad medicine, the bad tasting medicine that's going to save his life. Any situation he's in, it's the bad tasting medicine that's going to save his life. And depression and atzvus and being upset, and we'll see also anger, all these things come from a person thinking to himself, this should not be happening. It's bad for this to happen because it's not good. When really everything is good, as long as I'm doing my ishtadlus, as long as I'm doing the right thing. Right? Again, if I run onto Sterling Road, I get hit by a car, you can't say, well, Hashem does everything the best, right? As long as a person is doing proper ishtadlus, so everything is good. It's all good. That's the level. But that's how a person gets to simcha. And like he says here, simcha has to be channeled to the right places, not at anyone else's expense. It has to be channeled to avodas Hashem. So again, I think the big chiddush in simcha is if a person wants to be a Baal simcha, he has to be a Baal bitachon. Once he has bitachon, once he realizes whatever happens, called the Avid Rahmana, is the Tav Avid, so then it just flows, it'll be the Simcha. Okay, so that's Shaar Hasimcha. We'll just begin in the last couple of minutes, we'll begin Shaar HaDaiga. So the gate that comes after the Shaar Hasimcha is the Shaar HaDaiga, which means worry, concern. Zois Hamidah says the Orchos Tzadikim, he ra'a b'roi v'yonei. Daiga is bad in the majority of its applications, we'll say. In the majority of where it comes out in a person, the majority of times that person is b'daiga, it's bad. It's a bad thing. Okay, fine, let's see. I'll call upon him. Not only that, he points out, you can tell daiga on a person's face. It says, he saw their face, he saw they were upset. This is in Nehemiah. The king tells Nehemiah, he sees Nehemiah is not happy. He was not happy because the base of the Yidden in Yerushalayim are not doing well, the Jews over there. And the king says to him, I see panecha ra'im. I see your koirish, I think it was. I see your face is evil. And one of the wise people said, Siman Daiga. Chashuva people, intellectual chashuva people, I do not ever see on them any inkling of Daiga. Anyone who has Daiga, now I don't want to translate the word because I don't know if concern or worry is an accurate translation, because I could be concerned that someone who I love is not taking care of themselves. I could be worried about my daughter who just got her license and she's driving on the 95, let's say. She hasn't been doing it yet, but I could be worried about that. I don't know if that is the daiga that he's talking about here. So let's, as we go through the gate, we'll let the Orchos Tzadikim educate us as to what daiga really means. So he's saying over here, it's Maguna Ma'od, and Hadaiga, one will not find daiga in a person who has bitachon in Hashem. There will be no worry. There will be no daiga. No daiga. It consumes a person's thought process. It also makes them physically sick. The worst type of daiga is a guy is running after transgressions. He can't fulfill his desire to transgress the Torah, and he's concerned about that. He is daiga about that. That's the worst daiga. Whoever is consumed with worry about this world is far himself from Torah, from mitzvahs, from davening. A person should be very careful and meticulous to uproot this midah from within him. There's no need for us to discuss at length all the downsides of daiga. It's really the opposite of simcha. So we're defining daiga as the opposite of simcha. When there's no simcha, there's automatically daiga. As Hashem, on Thursday, we'll continue to see exactly how he's going to define daiga. Shkoyach, everyone.